Well, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending upon where you are in the world, and welcome to today's DevOps.com webinar. I'm Charlene O'Hanlon, Managing Editor at Media Ops and moderator for today's event, and I welcome you. As always, we have a great event on tap, but before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping items we need to go over. First of all, today's event is being recorded, so if you miss any or all of the event, you will have the opportunity to access it later on. Following today's webinar, we will be sending out an email that contains a link to access the webinar on demand. And we are taking questions from the audience. So if at any time during today's presentation you have a question for any of our speakers, please don't wait, don't hesitate, just use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit your question, and we'll try to get to as many as we can near the end of today's webinar. Also, at the end of today's webinar, we are doing a drawing for 4 $100 Amazon gift cards. So please stick around. Hopefully you'll be one of our 4 lucky winners. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and kick off today's webinar, which is Accelerate Your Digital Transformation Journey with Cloud Native and No-Code/Low-Code Platforms to Succeed. Our speakers today are Raveesh Dewan, who is the CEO of Joget, along with Hugo Lim, who is the co-founder of Joget, and they'll be joined by Josh Silverman, who is the Senior Vice President of Transformation at Versant Health. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Michael Waite with Red Hat. I know you are actually going to be doing the quick introduction, so I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get right to it.
Quick introductions. Hi, everyone. Michael Waite from Red Hat. I just wanted to say that, the reason why we do these webinars is because software companies like Joget have been long-term partners with with Red Hat and our platform, and their products are tested and certified for use with all of Red Hat portfolio products, OpenShift, Linux, and so forth. So we like to fund these to help drive visibility for our partners' technologies in the market, and that's kind of why we're here today. Raveesh?
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you very much, everyone joining for the webinar today. Exciting topic that we are covering today, and good thing is we'll see some things in action. It includes a small demo as well as we work through this. So just hang tight and obviously ask questions as mentioned earlier. So let's get started. Quickly introducing Josh. He's one of the SVPs of transformation at Versant Health. Again, we'll get to Josh later in the webinar. He's here. Thank you very much, Josh, for joining again with us and sharing your viewpoint on digital transformation.
Thank you for having me.
Myself, Raveesh Dewan, I'm leading Joget, and along with me is Hugo, my partner in crime. Today, he's going to be helping us go through a quick demo on OpenShift and Joget. Hugo, you want to say a word?
Hi everyone. This is Hugo. Thanks for joining the session today. Over to you, Raveesh.
Thank you. So let's quickly get started. I know it's a tough environment today with COVID going on and everyone working remote, and everything needs to be digitized. It's a tough environment to be in today. And if I put IT dream in very simple terms, first thing that comes to my mind is I have enough money to deliver the projects. As simple as that. The next one is I have enough resources to deliver the project. That happens all the time. You start a project, you never have enough budget, you never have enough resources. And something that is always running against us is time. You never have enough time as well. These are kind of IT dreams, if you will. Any IT manager or any delivery manager would attest to it. Right? On top of that, if you have requirements from your business, complete requirements from your business, that's icing on the cake. None of these things happen, if you will. And, consider today's environment, everything has been tightened now with the situation around the world with this pandemic. Are old ways enough for delivery? Are you changing at a pace that you should be changing, or your environment is changing? And is the current pace of delivery enough? I think these are the constraints that we are dealing with any IT shop today across the globe. Question is, how can we deal with these constraints? I think it is important to understand how environment has changed over time, correct? This is a really interesting story I always share. when we are talking about changing environment, right? It's a story that everyone might have heard about earlier also. There is a rabbit and a turtle, and guess what? They did a race, and rabbit slept in the middle and lost the race. Moral of the story was slow and steady wins the race, right? Consider today's environment. Rabbit has that lesson for him already, right? So he's not going to wait in the middle and then run the race or lose the race. He's going to win the race. And the moral of that story is going to be, do not take old morals at face value. Why I'm saying this is because the environment has changed. We have learnings from old environment, and those are not valid for new environment. Now, when I say new environment, what do we mean? What we are talking about is the new environment. It's cloud. Every customer is going ahead with cloud migrations. Everyone is talking about cloud. I want to digitize. I want to go to cloud, right? Every other company is talking about AI and machine learning. Great advancement in and commoditization of AI and machine learning. And guess what? Everyone wants to use it. Agile and DevOps. This is what we talk about all the time. I want to be agile. I want to do things fast. Why are we looking at these things? Because we want to do things faster. And containers, new era of application development to expedite how you deal with your environments. And these are the founding principles of modern application development, if you will, right? The constraints that you saw earlier, couple them with these kind of environment, it's a tough environment to be in, right? How do we talk about moving the bar for traditional application development? So if you look at this study was from Forrester, They talk about, low code platforms are emerging. This is what they're saying, and there is a lot of activity going on low code platforms. And if you look at these 4 factors that they have, all on the top is high cost. Everyone is dealing with that constraint. Time consuming to build these custom applications. Lack of flexibility. I mean, business wants to change before they they give you requirements. And the changing environment. The changing environment refers to what is happening around the world today, right? Were you prepared for this pandemic? How quickly can you adapt to this situation? These are the key elements that they identified are actually a problem with traditional application development. So what do they have? What did they find is they did some research across the globe for the companies that are using low code platform. They found out 92% of those companies agreed that they have seen either significant or a modest improvement compared to traditional application development. This is a pretty big number when you talk about the significant improvement that they have seen or a modest improvement they have seen with low code platforms. Now, I want to highlight, we talked about the environment, changing environment, the speed that we want, the cost that we want to control. Now, let's take a step back and take a look at the traditional business application development process. In every organization that happens, right? You have requirements, you go through design, you create a development environment, so on and so forth. You develop, prepare for testing, create the testing environment. So there are a bunch of these activities that are infrastructure related and application development related that are weaved into the overall life cycle, right? And if I separate them out, you are talking about infrastructure activities cover 10, 20, or sometimes even 30% of the life cycle. Depends upon how efficient you are or your organization is. Ask for a server and you get that server the same day, not possible at all in a lot of large organizations. And I've personally been in all sorts of environments. It is very difficult to achieve that today with traditional application development. And talk about business application development, that takes time. You requirements, testing, so on and so forth, right? So you cover 80% of the time in your business application development and 20% of time in infrastructure. The question is, how can I accelerate this overall? And using the old tools will not get you there. So what we are talking about here today is how should I put OpenShift and Joget together to gain that acceleration, the advantage for the acceleration. How can I do that? You have infrastructure activities that what we are going to demonstrate today is we will accelerate that with OpenShift. We will start from nothing, no server, and go from there. You just have the OpenShift environment up and running for you and your business. And then the next piece is accelerating the business application development. You can shrink that lifecycle with low-code platform like Joget. And overall, you get a good acceleration of 60 to 70% of the time. This is significant time saving when it comes to, overall business application development. And, let alone application development, moment you finish the application development, you get into discussions for changes from business standpoint. That happens across any large organization, even medium or small organization. It's because the business environment changes fast. So we are going to see this live today in a demo so that we can really get into what it means when you are leveraging some of these platforms. The cloud native platforms like OpenShift and Joget, how do you gain the acceleration? We will see that in action today. Just to give you a little more context, Joget does have a Red Hat certified container and a operator available across various channels from Red Hat perspective as well. Just bringing in another industry context, this is a prediction from Gartner that talks about by 2024, low-code application development will cover almost around 65% of the application development activity across the board. This is a significant number to look at. And the question is why they are stressing on this. It's because what they're observing is the organizations that are using some of these platforms are moving much faster than the other organizations. And obviously, the cloud native platform accelerate your infrastructure as well. So that's a interesting thing to look at what is happening around the world when it comes to accelerating application development and breaking those traditional barriers of application development. Just quickly highlighting a quick case study. Joget is an open source low-code platform. Just to give you an idea, again, everything is visual. Even a non-coders can create business applications, and we'll see an example today. Completely visual approach. You start with no server. You instantiate something on OpenShift, with Joget, and then you start building an application on Joget. No coding is required in number of cases. Obviously, when you are building new applications or build complex applications, you may want to look at some code. That's why it is called low code platform. Speed to market, you will gain that speed that you're looking for. And moving, if you remember, moving those budget constraints or the resource constraints, right? When you have a non-coder building an application, you can move that resource constraint or a budget constraint from cost perspective as well. And ability to move fast, your business requirements change fast. How can you achieve speed to market? And obviously, the lower total cost of ownership. If you can do these changes faster, you can gain an advantage from cost perspective as well. I want to highlight a quick case study from Cisco. In fact, there is another bank in Asia that won an award for Digital Bank of the Year that had OpenShift environment and Joget environment, and they were able to move really fast. In this case, I just want to highlight Cisco. They did a pretty big development, more than 1,000 plus screens and 100 plus workflows. This is substantial application development in 24 weeks with a 5-people team. That's the power of low-code platform. And just to give you an idea, there are various capabilities built into the platform. You can build screens, you can create list views, you can create tabular views, dashboards. You can also automate, create processes, again, drag and drop and create processes. You can create reports. There is a report builder, API builder in there to expose the data you capture on the screens. And more so a plugin architecture with Joget open source, low-code platform. That is something that is interesting feature from Joget standpoint, that you can extend Joget for your custom needs also. custom integration, a proprietary integration that you want to achieve. Just a quick call out. I mean, we are across the globe, plenty of customers, a lot of activity in open source, and we have more than 11,000 plus community members as well. I think it's time for action. It is more important to see and understand what it means when we say, going from no infrastructure to a, full-fledged business application with a process automation behind it. So we'll see that in action. I have Hugo joining me with me to take you through the demo. Hugo, I'm going to give the control to you.
Yep, sure. Thank you. All right, so let me try to share my screen. Okay, all right. I hope you can see the OpenShift platforms that I'm having here. So what I'm having here is that I have Joget operator already installed and made available throughout the environment here. And very quickly, it is being pushed from my Red Hat marketplace, where I have added my environment into the cluster here. And under my software, so I have added Joget in, and I have pushed it to a cluster here. So let me just go back to my environment here, and you shall see it in here. So what we are going to do today is to showcase how quickly it is for us to run Joget on the OpenShift platforms. So let me just very quickly switch it to the developer's environment and create a new project. So in this case, I'm gonna just call it as demo. So we're gonna just start with a blank canvas here. I'm calling it as demo. And so what we will be doing is to first add a database into the project here. So Joget support various RDBMS out there, namely those major providers, right? So MySQL, MS SQL, Oracle's, and a derivative of it as well, such as MariaDB, right? So in this case, I'm gonna just pick one, right? My MySQL instantiates a template, and so I'm gonna just give it a very meaningful, easy to remember names, right? Joget, and root password is Joget. So a database that Joget is going to make use of gonna be called as JWDB version 8, and here we go. So you're gonna just take a second or so, right? Here we go, and it shows up. And I have in my project here, I have added a database in here. So moving on, I'm gonna just go to add again and to add Joget into the project. So how do I do that, right? Since we have made the Joget DX operator available in our environment here, so I can either go to operator back, or I can also go to the catalog, right, in order to add Joget in. So I'm gonna just go ahead and click create, and again create, right? So it is that easy to actually add Joget into it. So give it another few seconds and the topology charts will be updated. So as it would take a few minutes for it to go up, for the service to be up. So as you can see from the monitorings and all the metrics here. So let me just pass it back to Raveesh screens, and while we wait for the pods, right, to be up.
Cool.
So Raveesh, yeah.
Sure.
Just pass the screen back to you while we wait for the pod and the services to be up.
Sure.
I was going to say, Hugo, maybe we could have some music playing.
Yeah. So I just want to highlight, what Hugo did so far. And again, this is a considerable amount of infrastructure that has been created over the period of few clicks, if you will. So just thinking about, in a very simple terms, you were started with a new project, you deployed a new instance of database, starting from scratch, right? So he created a, think about in physical world, it would be a server, database server created, database installed, and get ready for use. That was one of the initial step. Second step was using the Joget operator, deploy Joget also. So he executed the Joget operator and instantiated Joget in that environment. That is equivalent to creating a server, installing all the required stuff on that server, including Joget, and getting it up and running. These are the three steps that Hugo has finished. What this is going through is right now initialization of Joget after deployment. Joget server, once it gets deployed, it will initialize itself. That's what we are waiting for. As soon as this is done, we will get into the final step for building an application, and we will do that in literally 5 minutes as an example, including the backend process as well. So just while we're waiting on, I just want to highlight Joget is available all in OpenShift containers, as Michael mentioned earlier. These are certified containers available through Red Hat container images, as well as recently launched Red Hat Marketplace, which has the ability to go, you can try, Joget in your OpenShift environment through the Red Hat Marketplace as well, or your own instances or on your own cluster as well. So this is what what Joget is bringing to the table, and along with OpenShift, your ability to create these environments. And this is a significant amount of environment that we are talking about, from no pods to database being created, Joget instance being up and running, installed, so on and so forth. That's a significant piece, when it comes to execution overall. And now I think we'll get into the next piece that we are talking about, building a business application as well.
Just give me a minute. Checking on the liveness prop.
Cool. So while we are waiting, you guys, just want to also highlight that these OpenShift containers are kept up to date with our latest versions, as well as the releases that happen from OpenShift perspective, as well as from Joget perspective. So something to keep in mind, that when you are using these containers, you are going to get the certified images all the time. It is never going to be the case wherein we have released a version and it has not been certified through Red Hat containers. So that's something that is kept in mind all the time to ensure you are getting a certified software, as Michael mentioned earlier as well.
Okay, it is up now. So can I have the screen back, Raveesh?
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. So back to the same screen, and the pod is now up, right? If we go into a little bit technical here, right? So if I go to all event and stuff, there's the liveness props and stuff, and the sure way to test it out is to just go to the URL here, and it should go up to the database initialization screens. So in here, what we are going to key in is to connect to the DB that we created earlier. So database name is JWDB, user is Joget, password is Joget, and click on save. So what will happen next is that Joget server is up, and it is now initializing a new database into the new DB that MySQL DB that we created earlier, and this step would take about 30 seconds to a minute or so, depending on the how fast it initializes the tables inside the MySQL here.
And Hugo,
yep.
Along with the install, you are also installing some sample applications as well. Is that correct? Just to give an idea.
Yep, I do. We do.
Excellent.
So what happens here is that this is a initial screens that you will only need to do it once to set up the environment. And right after this, it will then bring us to the App Center. So what we are seeing here is just a classic JavaScript countdown here. I believe it actually succeeded. So let me just refresh the page, and it shall bring us to the App Center.
Excellent. So Hugo, why don't we build a quick app to showcase how easy it is to now we have created all the infrastructure that was required, a server for database, basically a pod for database in OpenShift terms, a pod for Joget that is running in. Now we are going to get to action to create an application.
Sure.
Excuse me, Raveesh.
Right. So,
Raveesh, there's a question that came in here a little while ago. I don't know if you folks want to address this, but it sounds pretty interesting.
Go ahead.
For the last 3 releases, there have been very few new examples that can demo Joget capabilities, including DX. What are your 60, 90, and 120-day plans to improve the level of resources on the community forum?
Give me 1 second. So last 3 releases, there have been very few. So actually, let me make sure we. I don't know what. Is this talking about the OpenShift question, or is it just Joget DX?
I think it's Joget DX.
Okay, so I think Joget DX is actually available. You can go to jogetcloud.com, register, and give it a try. And absolutely, it is available there. I don't know. For last 3 releases, there have been very few new examples. You're talking about the example apps. There are plenty of example apps available to demonstrate Joget capabilities on Joget Marketplace as well. There is a Joget Marketplace that you can go to and download any number of apps. In fact, if you go try out Joget now, there is a Joget DX showcase app. Hugo, if you can highlight on your screen as well, I think that'll make sense. If you do a default install, there is a Joget DX app that comes as a Joget showcase app that you can try, and it will highlight a number of Joget capabilities there. And to improve plan on community forums, absolutely there will be, this webinar is one way to do it. We are conducting a number of webinars on that, as well as releasing documentation and articles every day. So you should see a pretty improved information around trying it all by yourself as well.
Okay. I hope you have answered the question. Going back to the screen here. So this is the App Center. Let me just quickly get into creating a new app. And so on the top right, let me just log in as the admin here. So the default admin credentials will be just admin, and the password will be admin as well. So once we are logged in, we will then be presented with the administrative button here, where we can. So Raveesh, let's create a new applications to showcase how fast it is to create a approval app.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So let's click on Design New App. Okay, and let's just call it as a demo. And so there are several builders here. So when we embark on a designing an app, we would either start with a forms or a process. So it is very likely that you would have some kind of forms, paper forms, or a electronic form from other platforms that we are going to try to create in Joget. So let me just go ahead and create a new form. So which it will then bring us to the form builder. Okay, all right. So let me just request. Let's make it meaningful. Request details. add a couple of fields. So Raveesh, why don't you give me some requirements? So I'm gonna be the designer and you're gonna be the customers.
Okay, we can add a due date.
Due date, okay, that would be a date picker. Right, due date, okay.
That,
So let's keep it simple here. Okay, right.
Change the date format to
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, done.
Yep, it already is. Okay.
And then add a description field.
Sure. I'll add a text area. All right.
And I think you can add another assigned to, just text box.
All right, a drop down, a text box. A drop down would be more appropriate because we can show the list of users. There you go.
So why don't you do a process and show someone submits the form and goes through the process?
Sure thing, right. So let me just preview the form, right, to get a feel of how it looks like in the actual environment later on. So it would be a little bit more different here with the user view, with the UI treatment there, right? So let me just save the form and use these forms as the basis for a approval process. Generate. And there you go. So this is on the App Center itself, right? You will see that the new app, the next time I refresh, so I can see the demo app, which will then be made available to the end users. There we go. So let me start a request approval process. Assign to myself. And here's the assignment for the approval. All right. Anything to add on, Raveesh?
Cool. So Hugo, can you also, once you submit the application, it is approved. That's what we're demonstrating, right? Can you add another field on the form and change the list view just to show an idea about?
Sure.
And I think there is one more requirement that I see that came, how to change any themes. So maybe we can quickly talk about that for a moment.
All right. All right. So let me take it one at a time. So I'm looking at the listing here, and it is I can modify and manage it, right, by turning on quick edit mode. Let me open up the appropriate respective builder. So the ID column is not that meaningful. Let me just reorganize them, and perhaps status, and I can also rename this guy here. And we can also add a search filter by dragging in the columns here. And that's it. So that's one down, right? And moving on, right? We can also go back to the form builder, right? It doesn't mean that once the app has gone live, we can't make changes, right, to the form, to the design. So we can still get back here and says that urgency level, for example, and it would be reflected the next time we load the form.
Okay.
And
so
lastly,
one last thing is, why don't you change the theme and showcase how you can literally rebrand the application based on your corporate requirements?
Sure thing, right? Settings, So there are various themes available. We can either change the color here. So I hope the red here is red. Yes, preview. There we go. And we, oh, sorry, no, jumping too fast.
I would rather like to see the completely change, not just the colors. So
sure. Let's just choose another theme, except in theme, save it, and refresh. Oh, sorry. There you go. So this is completely different from the former one, where it opens in its own tab.
And Hugo, can you shrink this left bar as well?
Mm-hmm. The left bar.
If you click on the top, those right next to demo, I believe there is a way to enable this. I think this was one of the questions, how we can, maximize the real estate on the screen as well.
Raveesh, there was one other question about which databases are supported besides MySQL.
So it supports MySQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, Postgres, all the major ones are supported in there. Cool. So Hugo, I think that's all we wanted to see today.
Yep.
I think this is again, quickly summarizing, this is an example of going from no infrastructure to building the OpenShift, pods for database, for Joget, and then building an app on that, and you can release that app. So the overall life cycle of the application development gets reduced. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, it is available on Red Hat Marketplace. It is available on OpenShift containers. You can directly use those containers or leverage Red Hat Marketplace for the same. I think let's get to Josh. We have a leader in our on the panel today. The question, the reason why we have Josh is he has lived through some of this transformation and can share some of the lessons that he has from transformation. So I would like to welcome Josh to help answer some of the questions that audience might have. And Josh, if you can, join us for answering some of the questions, especially the challenges that you face through transformation and how you have overcome those. Over to you.
Absolutely.
All right, great. Josh, thanks so much for joining. We have gotten some questions in so far. So let's start with the first one. What have been your biggest challenges considering your transformation? If you could kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, there are a few challenges at Versant Health. For those that may not have heard of Versant Health before, we are one of the largest vision insurance carriers in the country. We serve over 35 million members in all markets, from commercial employer group to Medicare, Medicaid, and individuals. So we have a lot of complexities, and part of my role of bringing the two companies together, we merged, had a merger of two companies, which was Superior Vision, the 5th largest insurance company, with the 3rd largest insurance company, Davis Vision. And one of the challenges, obviously, that we had bringing those two companies together were multiple administrative platforms. Some were very old legacy platforms, mainframes, in some cases. And a development team that was stretched and stressed, and really had kind of a legacy mindset on application development. So one of the challenges, I think, both on the technical side as well as the business side, was really moving beyond the traditional ways of thinking about solutioning, and really moving towards some of this digital transformation that we're talking about today. And Joget was a tremendous tool in doing so, and I'll explain in a couple minutes kind of some of the use cases that we use the tool for. But really, overcoming that took a lot of socialization and really what we called road shows as part of my transformation team. We would go out throughout our locations, speak to businesses from top executives to down to the lowest level folks, just explaining the importance of newer technology and what this brings to our organization, some of the advantages, the go-to-market speed of which we can bring new solutions, that traditionally would take months, months and years to develop. We could stand up things in a week, fully tested and ready to go. So very exciting technology, but took a lot of change management, and that's one really important thing as leaders and folks go through transformation is really making sure the organization is ready for it, and by doing so, it will have more successful outcomes in the end. So that was one, and I think Raveesh hit on it before, the time and the money, which is always a thing. And when we're in a private equity, we're owned by a private equity company, Centerbridge Partners, and in a private equity environment, that is heightened, multiple of 10 when you talk about time and money and the need to execute very quickly to bring equity value to the shareholders. So, the ability to move quickly and to do so in a way that you're not jeopardizing your book of is very important, and to have the ability to test in multiple environments and set up code and retest and have the ability to be agile is essential, and finding solutions such as Joget and Red Hat are the key to those.
All right. Well, this today's business environment, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, has certainly changed everybody's thoughts on business transformation in general. And it sounds like using a low-code platform, the Joget platform, has really kind of helped you guys move faster and definitely be more agile. So are there any other ways in which the low-code platform, the Joget platform, has been able to help your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a vision company, you think about just eye exams and glasses just go out, but it's extremely complicated set of permutations that go with that. I'll give two examples of specific examples of how we use Joget to quickly and accurately manage a couple of our most complicated items. One of which is we actually own a laboratory in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, and we also have partners throughout the country where we send our jobs, our lenses to be cut and frames to be selected, and the lenses put into the frames. And with that, you think that's an easy thing, but it's extremely complicated. There's thousands of permutations of lens styles, different progressives, different single visions, different line bifocals. There's hundreds of combinations of anti-reflective coating, which blocks out the glare. There's blue light protection, and there's different materials as well. There's very thin, high index lenses, there's polycarbonate lenses, and there's some other products out there, and there's transitions and photochromic lenses, etc. So just to name a few. And in order to be able to manage a catalog of that size and scope and different permutations, we leveraged Joget to be able to do so. Before Joget, we actually built it, hard-coded it into our primary administrative platforms, which required IT intervention when we wanted to make changes or updates. Things come out and get terminated and things like that. So we wanted a way that we gave the keys to the car to the business to the users that really understand it, to be able to manage this catalog. And it then transforms and connects to our UI, which is our portal that the providers enter the information in, and then it's sent over to, in code over to our middleware platform, which is a third party that sends it to the correct laboratory. Now we have to manage not only our internal information of the catalog, but we also have to manage the translation over to the company that's called Vision Web to Vision Web. Additionally, the complexity, it just goes on and on and on from there. We are an insurance company. These items then need to be submitted for insurance purposes and be paid as a claim. So there is mapping that needs to happen as part of that, which we call CPT codes or HCPCS codes that are mapped to those different lens styles and add-ons, et cetera, the codings. And that is all managed through Joget, and that involves multiple functions and departments within Versant Health. So there is a workflow as part of the Joget platform that sends the requests for updates over to the multiple departments, and that is eventually updated. It is reviewed, so there is governance over it. So we have administrative sign-off in order to put that into production. You know, we have visibility and reports on timing and when things are overdue, et cetera. So it's a powerful platform, and we're very excited about it. The second use case I just wanted to bring up really quickly, again, I mentioned we're an insurance company, so we have multiple administrative platforms historically that we used, and we really needed to, in order for the providers' experience on our portal to be consistent and uniform and not very confusing, we brought together those platforms through Joget as part of our benefits application. We really harmonized the naming conventions of how we call different procedures, et cetera, in the multiple platforms into a single code set, which would be displayed on our portal. Again, you know, a tremendous effort to bring together legacy portals or legacy administrative platforms and unify it to display on our UI on our new portal.
Excellent, excellent. Sounds like there's a ton of moving parts there. So I guess before we turn it back over to Raveesh, I just want to ask if you have any recommendations for organizations that are looking to transform based on your experiences.
Josh, I think that it would be great to share your thoughts on, I mean, if any other organization is looking for such transformation, massive transformation you've gone through, would it be, what would be your thoughts or recommendations to them?
Yeah, I think it is looking at these alternatives. It really is a lower cost, quicker to market alternative to really handle these massive transformations. And you know, it's interesting as part of a company you know, large enough that we were, and even coming from a larger health insurance company, the largest in the country. You know, you get bogged down by kind of the processes and approval processes and capital that is needed in order to make these changes through traditional ways. And you know, by having these alternatives like this, it really is a tremendous advantage, both you know, from a cost perspective, but I would also say from a competitive standpoint. You know, it is, we are quicker to market on a lot of these things, and we are able to get to the end users really quicker than our competition. So these are the solutions of the future, and I think it's you know, a great alternative to the traditional application development.
All right, great. Well, I will go ahead and turn things back over to Raveesh, and he can finish up his presentation. Thank you so much, Josh, for your time.
Thank
Josh,
you.
thank you so much for your insights. Appreciate it. I'll quickly get going on, some of the other things. Again, this is another important, interesting, fact to share. This was another Gartner report, top 10 strategic technology trends. And what Gartner is talking about is 75% of the large organizations are going to be having at least 3 to 4 low-code application development environments or development tools in their environment. Again, this is something to be looked at. I just want to quickly answer 2 questions that I saw. One is regarding what makes Joget out, stand out from other low-code development offerings. I think one of the key aspect there is being open source. You have the ability to create a lot of these features that you saw while looking at Joget are actually plugins in Joget. So you can create your own plugins and extend Joget to your own custom needs. And another important thing is something to keep in mind that we never expected Joget to be existing in a silo, right? So I think there is a question around, hundreds of dependencies. Those will still remain, no doubt about that. And instead of creating one from scratch, you can, once the app is created, you can easily use your DevOps chain. If you are using Jenkins and Git and so on and so forth, everything in Joget gets connected to a Git repository. You can check it in, and you can still continue your application development and leverage your CI/CD pipeline as well in context of Joget as well. So just to quickly answer some of those questions. And I think a few slides that are coming up will also answer in various ways. Joget is built on integration framework, so you can, there are APIs out of the box. Actually, there is an API builder to expose all the data that you are capturing in Joget, whether it's a process, a screen, so on and so forth. You can expose all the data through APIs. There is an API builder, very open for it from integration standpoint. Security is another key aspect, I would say, that everyone wants to worry about. And Joget is not released. Any next version is not released till we get a 5-star rating from Fortify. Just to give you an idea, Fortify is a Gartner leader in third-party scanning, and product goes through that cycle before it gets released. So something to keep in mind from overall perspective. And these are some of the new features. You talk about blockchain, right? You want to, while you're building for current, you are also looking at an eye towards future. So, there's blockchain integration with Hyperledger Fabric. You can drag and drop, create some applications, quickly to showcase your management or higher management, how you will leverage blockchain. In fact, there is a blog on OpenShift blogs that talks about leveraging IBM blockchain and Joget and OpenShift and create an application around blockchain. Same with AI and machine learning. I mentioned earlier, this is something that everyone is talking about. Joget has a plugin for TensorFlow. You can easily do API integrations with your choice of AI platform. And again, there is a blog on OpenShift website that talks about AI and leveraging TensorFlow and Joget and OpenShift and creating quick applications around AI capabilities or embedding AI capabilities in your business application. Just answering one of the other questions that were asked earlier also, what is so special about Joget? One quick thing we believe is it's not just the build out, really the lot of money that gets spent in monitoring the application in production. And we have a built-in APM feature in Joget. Any app you create using Joget, you get a APM feature embedded in there. The app gets automatically monitored. You can create alerts for response time, so on and so forth. Not just so in production, even before you go to production, there is something called performance analyzer. You can analyze your application, where the slowness is, and everything is visual. You can enable the screen and enable the analyzer and look for which parts of the screens are slow, and accordingly go after it. So these are some of the fundamental pieces if you talk about not just creating the application, but maintaining the applications as well in production. I want to highlight again, something from Gartner. Gartner talks about 6 major, pieces of any low-code platform. API management, integration process, event processing, database, AI and ML capability as well. They are talking about. So all-in-one low-code platform. If you look at it, these 6 features, these are all maps to what we have done in Joget so far. Each of these capabilities are available to you either via integration or within the native platform. And again, needless to say, anything you're building on Joget is mobile enabled as well. I want to get to the closure in a very contextual way. If you talk about COVID today, I mean, this is the new normal. Anything that can be digitized will be digitized for you. And that is what is happening. That is what we are seeing across the globe right now. Even 60 to 70% of the organizations are finding their processes. They thought they have automated fully. They have not. And there are broken processes which are surfacing now just because of this situation. And it's very simple. I mean, what's going to happen next? If you don't change, you are going to be left behind in this transformation world. It is significantly getting transformed, and you either become, embrace that change, or you are going to be left behind, as simple as that. Just to again put a quick note here on Joget Marketplace. If you go there, you will find a bunch of free applications available in context of COVID. All these are DX applications, sample applications available. I know someone was asking earlier questions. There are no new apps. These are all new apps, DX apps, which are rolled out very recently, especially in context of COVID, either contact tracing or visitor management or internal service request, employee and student temperature tracking app. Very nicely, you can create a QR code for each employee and scan that and scan the temperature and plug it in. Some simple apps, and here is a comment from Forrester also. This is a study May 7th, 2020 from a Forrester analyst that talks about returning to work. Low-code applications can automate employee monitoring and reporting tasks. And we are seeing this happening. A number of our customers who already had Joget reached out to us, and are leveraging some of these apps already in their shops. So just something to think about. You are free to go to Joget Cloud or try it on OpenShift. Once you install it, go to Marketplace, download, and boom, you can start using the apps. So with that, I think we can get to the closure. If we have any other outstanding questions, we can answer those. These are some additional resources. We'll try to distribute the presentation after this, but these are again links to OpenShift blogs or resources available to you.
All right, thank you very much, Raveesh. We are about 2 minutes to the top of the hour, so unfortunately we actually don't have time for additional questions, but I do want to let everybody know that if you do have a question for Raveesh or Hugo, you can go ahead and still use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit your questions. All the folks at Joget will be getting a copy of the questions that came in, so I'm sure they'll be more than happy to follow up with you offline and get your question answered. Also want to remind the audience real quick that today's event has been recorded, so you'll be able to watch it again, or if you missed any or all of the event, like I said, you'll be able to watch it on demand. Following today's webinar, we will be sending out an email that contains a link to access the webinar on demand, and the webinar is also going to be living on the devops.com website, so you can always go look for it there. Just go to devops.com/webinars. Look in the on-demand section, and it should be right there waiting for you. Okay, real quick, at the top of the hour, I did mention that we would be doing a drawing for 4 $100 gift cards. So let's go ahead and do that real quick before we close things out. Our first winner today is Alex S. Congratulations, Alex. The second winner today is Chris S. Congratulations, Chris. Our third winner today is Jill J. Congratulations, Jill. And our final winner today is Casey W. Congratulations, Casey. Guys, check your inbox for information on your $100 Amazon gift card. If you don't see it in your inbox, just check your spam folder, please. Raveesh, Hugo, and Josh, thank you so much, and Michael, thank you all very much for today's presentation. Good stuff. Love to hear about the low-code stuff. So thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for the demo as well. As I said, really fascinating information provided today. So thank you very much. And I also want to thank the audience for joining me today. This is Charlene O'Hanlon, and I'm signing off. Have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe.